So, for example, I have a student who comes to my classroom and likes to hit my other students. And I know we're not talking about children, we're talking about a significant other. But if you really think about it, we're all going through the same things, right? In regards to relationships. So, the standard I have in place is we will not use our hands for hitting. But my student continues to hit. And after numerous times of addressing it, it continued the behavior. So I technically offered the student grace. So then when I noticed that the student would get angry or start crying after hitting somebody and getting addressed about it, I saw something in that student that didn't sit well with me. I would say that was wisdom, or what we call discernment, seeing beyond the action, seeing beyond the behavior. The behavior was just a outer expression of something that they were trying to cope with internally. So I addressed or I talked about it to the student's parent, right? Ours would be a counselor or a coach or somebody who can help us through this, somebody that isn't going to be telling us what we want to hear, but will tell us truth. So the parent comes to tell me that the child's father recently walked out of their lives. Here I was, upset that my child was hitting other children at first, right? So I would eliminate that child from certain things. But what I was really doing was hurting that child more than helping them, because now here I am reacting because I have a standard in place without understanding the heart. And then when it was exposed, the heart behind the behavior, I realized I was not helping in the situation either. So then when I was thinking that I was doing the right thing to protect the other children and, stand on this standard that I have in place, I really wasn't, because I wasn't using wisdom at the time. And now I reinforced what the child was originally feeling, that fear of abandonment, that fear of rejection, those fears that have been embedded into that child because of what that child was experiencing at home. And it wasn't in my heart. So I had not only to offer myself grace, offer this child grace, offer this child forgiveness, and myself. So now I am implementing something. The accountability is now in place for me and this student to help them cope through the situation instead of just eliminating it. Because just as we at some point didn't have or may not have resources for our own healing, we have to allow that same grace that was offered to us to find healing to our significant others. So now that the accountability is in place, it's time to offer patience, because they may not grasp it as quickly as we would like them to, or maybe the level of maturities are different. That's called being the unequally or equally yoked, is what I meant to say in the last video. And then put an action plan and a time frame, not necessarily a ultimatum, because those don't work, but a time frame to sit down and discuss what's working, what's not working, what we would like to see change, and how we can proceed forward to implement that change. But it's daily practice. It's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight either. We might want to come home one night and have our husbands love on us, but we don't know what our husbands have been facing out there in the world, and where we can't expect them to just leave it at the door all the time, because that's something that they're internalizing. Our husbands or our spouses struggle with things just as we do, and may not be able to meet our desires or our needs, just as we may not be able to meet their desires or needs. And if it is something that is consistent, then definitely implement an action plan. Exhaust all possible resources before making a decision nearing an ultimatum. That's what my suggestion is. And again, if it's about compromising safety, I don't believe in compromising safety. And those would be considered toxic behaviors if there is no intention to change, because change involves repentance, change of heart, and therefore there needs to be some form of accountability.